Hi everyone, before we go into the podcast, I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I'm super grateful for your continued loyalty and support. If you could do me a quick favour, if you could give me a review on Apple Podcasts, it really helps the algorithm and it will help this podcast go up the lists. If there are any subjects or topics that you want me to cover, then please do reach out to me on DM on LinkedIn and I will do my best to find the best guest for that subject or topic. This is the Absolute Business Mindset Podcast. This podcast will give you insight into business. I will share my thoughts, ideas from content leaders and experiences from my life, and I hope you'll have a few aha moments on the journey. Today I'm going to talk about contrarianism. So what is a contrarian? So a contrarian thinker is someone who takes the opposite stance of the popular opinion. As a definition, it literally means to be against. This can be gone in so many different angles, and it can be education, it can be investing, it can be in politics, are all areas that contrarian thinking can have an impact. But often the way contrarian individuals, they see the general trend and they do the opposite. They read between the lines and see how it's important to take a differing view from the general consensus. So in kind of way, it's kind of like seeing the popularist, the general swell of popular opinion isn't going to be the right way of being able to have a good stance. Now, investing is one of the areas that you would find contrarian thinkers being successful, because I'll give you an example. Relatively recently, Ronaldo, the footballer, moved a couple of bottles of Coca-Cola, and $4 billion dollars came off the price. Now, what I thought there was there's an investment opportunity to be able to buy Coca-Cola stocks low, and that is what contrarian thinking is all about. It's seeing an opportunity where so everyone was reading the story, probably 90% of the population was reading the story going, oh no, their price has gone down, it's all down to Ronaldo, and thinking about how unfortunate it was that Coca-Cola had lost all that money, or even to the point where they agreed with Ronaldo and everyone should drink water and not drink Coca-Cola. But as an investor, you're like, well, there's just absolutely shaved off a huge amount of money on Coca-Cola's stock price, and it's going to rebound. Coca-Cola is one of the premium brands in the world, behind maybe McDonald's and Nike or maybe a few others. It is always going to rebound as a price for shares. So that's just in evidence of relatively recently of what happened for contrarian thinkers. So another area where you might find that contrarian thinking is about going to college. So going to college, having the life experiences, having the university, that name university behind you. But in actual fact, there's been a lot of pushback from influencers, entrepreneurs, business owners, that actually it costs a hell of a lot of money and you don't get return on investment for it. Now if you want to be an entrepreneur, a degree doesn't actually matter very much. So you can tell that there are contrarian thinkers when they are going against what is generally been a well-trodden path. So another area where people, I've spoken to a few people who have completely rejected social media. Now, majority of the population spends their time on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever it is. And they spend a lot of time. And some people are sort of addicted to social media. But there is now a counterculture, a contrarian thinking that actually, if you build relationships with phoning people and emailing people instead of trying to connect with random people cold calling or through social media, that actually there is a lot more that you can do with your life rather than being spent purely on on social media. So I think it's an interesting. I wanted to just flag this, that, as I said, contrarian thinking I think is really important and should be encouraged. And the problem is it is only a small portion of the population which will ever consider contrarian thinking, but it has a really useful for the people who are involved in it, if you're investing, equally for people around you, if you are, for example, on social media or education. So I would say it's something that you guys, as listeners to this podcast, should think about, because it's a really, really, really good way, I believe, in actually to train your brain to think about opportunity where there's downturn, and where there's upturn, look for the downturn. Okay, guys, thank you so much for following me, for listening, for downloading, for subscribing. I really appreciate your time, and I will speak to you all soon. Thanks a lot.